Hi, we're going to talk about sex ed today. Sex education is obviously something everyone needs, right? Well, of course. People need to know how to use condoms and other forms of birth control so they don't accidentally get pregnant. People need to know about STIs, how you prevent them, how you catch them, and how you treat them. People need to know how to talk about sex openly with someone they're in a relationship with. People need to know how to ask for consent, how to give consent, and how to know when to stop so they don't become rapists. Look, that's 4 reasons and we aren't even a minute into the video yet. So you would say sex education is pretty important, right? Well, the government doesn't really think so. About 35 states require sex education be taught in schools at all. Of those, only 12 states require the information given to be medically accurate. Only 8 states require the information to be unbiased, and only 2 states require that religious-based sex education not be taught in public school. In the majority of the United States, even in states that do have sex ed, the only education is abstinence. What is abstinence? Abstinence is telling people not to have sex, and that if you do, you'll get pregnant, you'll get a disease that kills you. You'll fall in love with the person forever. You're a slut that won't fit into society. In the early 20th century, people realized that sex education should be something that's mandatory for teens. People wanted sex education in schools, and that's where it stayed for about 50 years. But then the HIV/AIDS breakout of the 80s happened. People were getting sick, loved ones were dying, they needed a solution. The best method they had was abstinence, and that led into the school system. Scientific studies across the country and across the world have shown that abstinence-only education does absolutely nothing to prevent STIs in pregnancy. It has been shown that with abstinence education, the rate of accidental teen pregnancies doubles. It has been shown that people who are given abstinence-only education are more likely to get pregnant, more likely to get an STI, more likely to have bad sexual relationships with people, more likely to become sexually active earlier in life, and more likely to become rapists. South High does have a sex education program. Kind of. Sex education is a part of health class, but the class focuses on other topics too. It's not strictly sex ed, and you only have to take it for 1 of 4 years. But South does have the mini clinic in room 122 where you can get birth control, STI testing, and STI treatment. I cannot stress enough how important STI testing is. You should be tested at least once a year after you become sexually active. Infections don't necessarily show symptoms until they've already done some serious damage. Viral infections like herpes, HPV, and HIV are treatable, while bacterial infections like chlamydia are curable. But we still have a long way to go. On the survey my partner and I took, it was shown that there were a significant number of people who did not use protection during sex. And there were even more people who didn't know where they could get protection if they wanted to have sex. At my middle school, there was a case of rape in my class. Rape isn't something that anyone deserves, but because of the way my best friend was taught about sex, she saw it as the victim's fault. She started cyberbullying and verbally abusing her, saying things like, "She wanted it. She was gonna have sex anyway. What slutty clothes do you think she was wearing?" And being the narrow-minded 13-year-old I was, I believed her. So, how do we get sex education in schools? Well, you can talk to your representatives in government, saying why you think sex education is a must-have for American youth. You can start a petition in your community so local officials can't ignore you. And you can spread resources to young people. Let them know where they can get condoms or birth control if they need it. Let them know where they can get tested for STIs. Let them know where they can talk to someone openly if they're sexually assaulted.